Hi, what made me spend $5,400 for an estate plan? I'm going to share with you the process I went through to work with an attorney, whether it was worth it, and what I would have done differently today. I held off doing my estate plan for a long time, even though I knew it was very important. But every time before I get on a flight to visit my family or on vacation, I would pause and say, Martha, why have you not done your estate plan? It's not that I've done nothing. I have called a couple of estate plan attorneys, but every time I get a quote, I say, thank you very much, hang up, run away, and not think about it anymore until the next flight. Well, 5 years ago, I finally decided to bite the bullet and pay for an estate plan with an estate plan attorney. Here's why. One, it was simply the responsible grown-up thing to do. Sorry it took so many years to, be a grown-up, but it is a responsible thing to do. Two, I was a single mom at that time. I did not want my children to be burdened unnecessarily. I heard the horror stories of probate. And thirdly, I was hoping that planning early would save me estate taxes. I went with an estate plan attorney that was referred by my financial planner. So, what did I get for $5,400? Well, let's start with the meetings. The first meeting, the initial consult, was very short. It was mostly a get to know you, me interviewing the attorney. Make sure you're the one interviewing the attorney. When you're sitting in a posh office with mahogany shelves and polished tabletops, you might feel that you're the one being interviewed. Don't get intimidated. You're the one with the checkbook. You're the one interviewing the attorney. Well, I actually didn't have very detailed estate planning questions to ask because I didn't know enough. So I merely asked, what her clientele was like to make sure that I fit in that category. I also asked about prices. I was told it would be between $3,000 to $5,000. I hate ranges, don't you? Because you always hope you end up in the lower range, but you tend to usually end up in the higher range. So that was the initial consult. After that, we scheduled a meeting to gather all my information. That was a much longer meeting. We went through my goals for my stuff, who my children are, who are going to get the stuff. Do they get it right away or do I want to stagger them? If I get incapacitated, who do I want to make decisions for me? That kind of thing. It was a lot of questions. It was a long meeting and it took over an hour. After that meeting, about 3 weeks later, we met again to go over the drafts of the documents that she had prepared. Unfortunately, in the 3 week time span, I had met up with my sisters, had discussions with my friends to find out more about estate planning, and I actually changed my mind about a few things. So we couldn't sign the documents that day. She had to make some revisions. So I came back one final time to sign the final documents. Well, let me show you the binder that I received. This is by far the most expensive binder I own. $5,400 to be precise. Well, at least it's my favorite color. So in this binder are all the documents of my estate plan. Oh, I even received a CD, which really dates this document because these days computers don't even come with a CD player. So the documents in this binder are my healthcare proxy, who will make decisions about my health if I'm incapacitated, HIPAA release, allowing doctors to share my medical information, the living will, that's about medical end of life decisions, the durable power of attorney, who will make financial decisions on my behalf if I get incapacitated, the will, of course, and the revocable trusts. So an estate plan is not just about what happens when I die. It's also about what happens when I'm incapacitated. Who will step in to make these decisions? That's why you have all those other documents in addition to the will and the trust. So then the question is, was it worth it? Let's see, for $5,400, I got 3 meetings with the attorney. I got a mini cram education about estate planning. And of course, I got this binder of estate plan documents. And also peace of mind, right? Because now I know that my assets are protected, my kids are protected, so I can go flying without any anxiety or worries. So in that sense, I felt, yes, it was worth it. Of course, I wish I didn't end up on the high end of the price range, but all in all, I now have an estate plan. Yes, it was worth it. That was 5 years ago. Today, knowing what I know and knowing the resources that are out there, if you ask me if it was worth it, my answer would be no, definitely not. Now, hear me out. It's not because I had a terrible estate plan attorney. I felt it wasn't worth it because I was not prepared. When we had the information gathering meeting, I was facing questions like, do you want your children to get all your money right away, or do you want to stagger them? Age 35, they get a third, age 40, they get another third, and then the rest at age 45. Or do you want to set conditions like, hey, no money unless you graduate from college? Other questions were, what are your end of life wishes? What's the legacy impact that you want to make? If you get incapacitated, how long do you want to be on life support before they unplug you? I mean, these are big decisions. They need a lot more thought and consideration and talking with, a lot of people in my life, not something that I just shoot out answers in a random conference room in an attorney's office. Another way I was not prepared was not having a primer on the jargon and basic estate planning concepts. So I had to ask a lot of questions like, what is a trust? What makes it revocable? Or when do you then choose an irrevocable trust? Let me tell you, okay? An attorney's office is not the place to try to get an education on estate planning, because that would be a very expensive education and not even a good one, because you're just cramming a lot of things. The third way I was not prepared was how many roles, how many people need to step into my place if something happens to me. There's the trustee who will carry out the decisions that I spell out in the trust, for example. There's a guardian if my kids are minor. Then there's the healthcare proxy, right? Who will talk to the doctors on my behalf, or the power of attorney who will be making financial decisions on my behalf. That's a lot of roles with hefty responsibilities. The person I trust most with all my affairs would be my brother, but he's in Singapore, and I find out that you need to have somebody local in the state, definitely in the country, not out of the country. So those are a lot of big shoes to fill that I hadn't thought about. So because I was so unprepared, I felt that I was just, trying to think quickly and think what most people would do and blurt out those answers. I would have basically done two things. I would have documented my situation a lot more so I can see the picture, the big picture. And the timeline. Are you thinking that you want them to get it all in one lump sum or to stagger them? At the time I was doing my planning, my kids were just 18 and 19. So if anything happened to me, the second worst thing that could happen to my kids was to inherit a bunch of money all in one lump sum. They're millionaires overnight. That would actually be disastrous for their growth. So it turns out that there are many, many distribution timelines options that you can use to have a healthier way of supporting your kids, but also not ruining their lives. You also want to start thinking about the roles in your estate plan. Who are the various people that you trust to make decisions on your behalf if you're incapacitated or when you're not here? Don't forget to also think about a backup for each role, because it happens that the key person is not available when they're needed and the backup has to step in. So if I had done just the simple preparation of having a big picture of the asset and beneficiaries that I have, and also thinking through the different people who will be filling in the roles in my plan, my discussions with my estate plan attorney would have been much more higher quality, much more strategic and planning in nature. And I believe then that the estate plan I would have ended up with would have been much more aligned and nuanced to my specific situation. So I hope that is your takeaway from this video, that whether the expense you spend on getting an estate plan is worth it or not depends largely on the amount of preparation that you do.